Hello everyone and welcome to this week's Life on the Hulls. And this week I'm going to digress a little, but I want to basically outline the manufacturing process for hand making a sea kayak like this. I've been working on these for around about 20 years now, and I love making these boats. It's an instant gratification. Within a couple of weeks you've got a product like this that can just be used for a lifetime of experiences on the water. Unlike a boat build, which can take years to complete, as you've all seen with our 7-year catamaran build, one of these within 2 weeks, you're out there exploring the water in almost a better fashion than you can on any sailboat. In fact, I still love the sea kayaking. It is one of my passions, and it's something that has really given me a lot of joy over the years. Now, I've been very fortunate over my years to have been nurtured by a couple of mentors, and one of which is Malcolm Piercy in the United Kingdom. Malcolm owned Mega Kayaks up until I think around 2015. And he took me under his wing and taught me how to fiberglass. And I'm going to share with you a couple of the trade secrets that I was able to learn from Malcolm and bring into my own business here in Australia. And that included the assembly and license building of surf kayaks from Mega Kayaks in the UK, the distribution of Delta kayaks here in Australia from Canada, the distribution and manufacture of Seaward kayaks from Canada as well. So there's quite a history here. This particular boat, the Dusky Bay Double, is a New Zealand design of which we've owned the mould for around about 18 years. I can't quite pinpoint when I first bought the mould. But learning how to make something like this, it really is something that anybody can do. And fiberglassing is just advanced paper mache. And essentially, provided you follow the set procedures and love the chemistry, and I love the chemistry, and you can get a product, like this, and you can develop yourself a product which you can be truly proud of. So hopefully this little series will pique your interest and get you into making anything fiberglass. Doesn't have to be kayaks, could be a bathtub, could be showers, could be anything. We're pretty excited to use the composite technology to be able to produce something that gives us so much benefit. Let's get into it. Preparation of the tooling is possibly the most important component of composite fabrication, as the part will mirror the mould. If there are flaws in the mould, it will be directly reflected in the piece produced. Mould preparation can include wet sanding and multiple passes of polishing compounds to complete the preparation. Preparation of the parts is very important as well. What you have to do is basically give them a good clean, give them a buff, and then put release wax on. I actually use a product, it's a TR product, TR release, and it actually enables very good release. I've had no issues with it. I have had other failures with Canuba wax and all these other things, but once you're using these waxes, particularly the TR release wax, it's absolutely superb. And the nice thing about it is that it's easy to apply and it's very easy to get off. A lot of waxes can be hard to remove, and you do need to remove all the residual powder to make sure that you get a good clean release with the gel coat. I've decided I'm going to ease into it. I've just given the moulds for the kayak a clean, and I've just brush gel coated 2 of the components of the kayak. Now, there's virtually no point in trying to spray up parts like these. You're better off to do brush gel coat. In fact, a lot of the time you get a thicker gel coat on, especially on high wear things like the rear hatch there, and also the coamings, which cops a lot of abuse. So obviously you're trying to put hatch covers on them and the like, and this rear hatch cover, I'm making an extra 2 for Dane, and because I've got the mould here, if everyone blows off on the way home when he's trailing his kayaks back from the launch sites, often you'll lose a hatch. So I'm actually keeping the hatch rooms and just able to sort of make them as required. But yeah, I've just given them a good coating of brush black gel coat, and then I'll come back later on this afternoon once this sets up in a couple of hours, and I'll be able to laminate these down, and that'll be 2 parts made. I do have a lot of parts to make with this particular boat, especially this part here is an integrated coaming seat. It's a very, very good design. It's very hard to make because it's hard to get off the mould, and it's a bit of a complicated one to make. But the nice thing about this is that it actually integrates into the boat and creates watertight bulkheads, but also makes the boats easy to rescue should they ever happen to capsize. I'll explain that as I go along with the build. So earlier on I brushed these with black gel coat hatch of the kayak, and this is the large hatch cover, the corresponding hatch cover. There is a neoprene cover apron that actually fits on a skirt that fits on this particular hatch as well. So it's a 3-part system that will then be glassed into the deck itself. A young Dane from Sea Kayak Jervis Bay wants robust. A couple extra kilos in a boat is actually good for him because it means he can hire it out and not worry too much about it. And pretty much all hire and experienced kayaks are made of polyester. It's only as we get older we tend to want lighter ones and carbon and things, but then there's a fragility that goes along with that, so not really appropriate for the type of use that they're going to get. We'll just make it with simple polyester resin. We put a 300 CSM tire layer onto that polyester, and then 2 layers of Aerolite 100 gram surfboard cloth, which is a very fine weave. That gives it a really nice smooth finish without having to peel ply or whatever. And then I just put a waxed polyester resin coating over the top of that just to seal it and to stop it getting sticky and attracting sand and the stuff. So it's very important that you do that, because if you don't do that, your boat's going to get full of sand and you won't be able to get it out of it. So by putting that last little bit of wax into the polyester and smearing it onto the surface of the finished product, you'll end up with a really nice waxed finish, which actually will never attract dirt. Next morning, and these have set up, and basically had to green trim them. Very important that you trim these with a Stanley knife before they fully set up, because it saves you hours of grinding and sanding. You don't have to trim the things off with a Dremel or a grinder. So I'm just giving them a light sand around the rims here. You can see here, and get it down to the level where it actually is at the edge of the mold. You don't want to be sanding your molds down. A lot of the time you'll get a mold and someone's been sanding the rim of it so much that basically you start to lose the shape, so I'm very careful about that. I don't ever go beyond the margin of the mold. But a light sand will save me oodles of time in the future as I'm starting to fit these parts onto the boats, and it really does make a big difference to give it a light sand, because you get a cleaner edge when you demold. Once you've established your separating line, you can sort of get a tongue depressor or a popsicle stick in amongst it and just work your way around. Good idea to wear gloves at this stage. Just with a paint scraper, very carefully, because you don't want to damage your surface. Once you've got that line, demolding is quite simple. I have actually sliced my hand open doing this several times, and yeah, learned my lesson. And there's our product, and that's absolutely perfect. Perfect. This gets incredibly messy, and basically you're putting a black splatter down with just a tongue depressor. We're just sort of dribbling the black and splattering it over the mold, and then we have to stipple the base color over the top in between the gaps, and then eventually meld it all in, so you end up with an undisturbed splatter underneath the gel coat. So very important that you do it quickly, because we've only got around about 12 minutes or so to enact this gel coat layup, and then once that's done, 2 or 3 hours later we can laminate up the actual hull. But yeah, basically this one is ready to go. It's all polished up. This mold hasn't been used for 10 years, so I've given it a few coats of release wax just to make sure that I get good effective release. layup. This layup is very simple. It's a 300 CSM tie layer. That is chop strand matting, polyester boat. 300 CSM first layer. Second layer is a 265 woven roving, and I incorporate some core mat into the high wear areas, and those high wear areas are the deck in the center here and the deck in 4 of the actual cockpit. Now the cockpits are going to be reinforced around here. Once the seat is glassed in, it actually reinforces by its own virtue, and then a small piece of core mat down here just on the back where people are likely to put their hand, where they're putting hatches and the like, installing the hatches on the boat. So I've got all my cloth ready there, ready to go. Basically just roll up, wet out an area at a time and work slowly and just consolidate all the air bubbles out of it, and very shortly you've basically finished the boat. Within 3 hours I can demold it. The beauty of working with polyester, particularly in our climate here where we're sort of in the mid 20 degrees all the time, is that it's a very quick setup. I'll have this one demolded on the same day we lay it up, and often I'll leave them till the next day to let them harden, but I do like to green trim them. I like to basically green trim before any attempt at demolding, and that saves me a lot of grinding and a lot of effort later on. So yeah, I'll get my stuff mixed up and we'll just get this one laid up. Should take me about 2 hours to knock this out, and we'll be done. And that's it, all laminated up. It's only 2 layers. It's one layer of 300 CSM and second layer of 265 woven roving. And I have some core mat here on the heavy wear areas, on the heavy footprint areas, and that is around the deck. And also got some shape here that's giving this boat a lot of strength. I've green trimmed it basically with a Stanley blade, as you can see, close to the mold, so that when I get here in a couple of days' time, I'm actually going sailing for the next 2 days, so I won't be back till Sunday morning. It's Thursday now. This will be fully cured, and what that means is it'll be simple to demold. I'll just get a tongue depressor in between it, some cardboard underneath it, pop it out, and then I can start fitting the seats and the hatch rims. And what I may even do on that day is get it ready to do another boat. The way I'm working at the moment is to do 2 decks at a time and complete 2 complete boats, and then move on to do another one. So, or another 2. I've got to do at least 4 for Dane. And this is the sort of thing, if I can work like this, it won't take up too much room. I'll have 2 decks on the go up there with the seats installed, hatches and everything, make the hulls, and then I can start to join them. There is a lot of work to be done. This is the easy part, is making the decks and the hulls. All the componentry and then stitching it all together is really where the skill is. Not so much just laying this up, because it's just basic lamination, and they do say that fiberglassing is just advanced paper mache, and that's pretty much what it is, but just knowing how to green trim and knowing the laminate schedule is so important. And the next one will be a yellow base with a black splatter. So we're looking at 4 different boats. By determining different colours, he's able to determine who is out on the water there. So if someone's in trouble, you'll know it's the pink boat with the black splatter. If you've got all the boats the same, and I did have a fleet of those at one stage where every boat was the same colour, it was very hard to work out who was who when you're 100 metres away trying to control that group. So that's sort of the premise he's working on, and also having a high quality boat like this sort of separates him from any competition that comes in with cheap plastic boats. There's nothing like going to a sea kayak operator and he's got beautiful fiberglass boats. That's sort of what I always worked on, and that's what he always works on as well. Okay, 2 days ago I laid this deck up and I've come back, it's actually 3 days ago, and it's nice and stiff now. So the nice thing about that is it's going to really make demolding nice and easy. You just got to find a separating line, stick in a tongue depressor and run it along the separating line. You just got to be careful you don't damage your deck when you're doing this. This has a seam on it, so it has to be sanded off anyway, so I always do very gently, just get into the edge, and the tongue depressors being wooden won't damage the surface of the actual deck either, so we just run that around the complete deck. Really see the benefit of green trim with a Stanley knife. I've got a very close edge here and not much refuse to deal with, and that's just gold when you're demolding a product like this. You can see it's already coming out. You can see there's a little bit of excess gel coat, but because it's quite brittle, it'll just break off. And now that I've broken the seal on the top, it's wise to flip it over and actually get the seal around the coamings and the hatch rims free so that the whole thing will just pop off. So here's a bit of a lift. Always a good plan when you're demolding, use cardboard. You can use wedges. The only thing is you might mark your product, but cardboard will very rarely mark the actual product, and it gives you the ability to be able to get a little bit of distance, so that's going to give me about a centimetre of separation between the mould and the hull. You can see here, that's releasing nicely, everything's releasing all the way along. Okay, because this is a 6 metre long boat, you've got a lot of flexibility, so you've got to be careful you don't break it and bend it as you flip it over. And we'll reveal our boat. We'll just lay it on top of the mould here. Okay, here to smash out another deck. This is the one I gelled up yesterday. It's yellow with a black splatter through it, a bit like the pink one I just did. And we've got 4 different ones to do. I think we've got a purple one with white, and a green, like a chrome green with a white to do as well. This one here is basically ready to go. I've got my woven rovings and my CSM there for the tie layer. The tie layer is so important with a gel coat like this, that you bond that gel coat to the actual first substrate, and that's generally CSM. I don't use cloth. You could use tissue. If you had a really thin gel coat layup, you can use a tissue, which is a very light cloth, and that is super light, and that stops an element of print through. The nice thing about these is they're brushed gel coat. These are designed to last a long time and be able to sustain a lot of knocks, so we've got slightly thicker gel coat on these as well, and we don't have to worry about print through, and it's not like we're vacuuming it down. It's all hand laid. This particular boat has got a lot of fittings to be fitted now. I'll get started on those later in the week and start to fit it out, and there's nothing I can do until that is completely fitted out with all its parts. I can't join it to the hull. I haven't made the hulls yet. They're coming probably end of this week. I'll start to lay those up as well. Once I get the 2 decks on their way, I'll get those hulls laid up, and then we can start to assemble them and get them finished and get them out to Dane. Righto, 2.5 hours that took me, and I've just green trimmed it. Obviously trimming it with a Stanley knife, just the key. And I've just made up another seat over here, so we're in full production. I've got 3 more of those to make, 2 more decks to make, and it's a bit cold today, so this is not setting up very quickly, so I'm going to have to leave it till tomorrow to demold. Yeah, how's that? Good.
Oh, I like this one.
Yeah, it's good. It's like my megaphone.
Yeah.
Surf kite. Sit there for now. All right. That's perfect. Okay, now I've got it all set up and braced because they're super weak at this stage. We need to basically get all the seats and the hatch rims in place, and that requires a lot of glassing and a lot of brushwork. Basically, we're going to sit the seat in place that's over here and sit them in place and then flip it over and then glass them in. A lot of companies will just bog them in with a polyester bog. I actually glass it first and then bog it in. I've never had a coaming release. I have had hundreds of kayaks where the coamings have released and I've had to fix them. I physically glass them in and never ever had one, and that's in surf kayaks where they're getting dumped in big waves. The edge of the coamings here need to be sanded down, so we just give them a light sand just to get the edge nice and neat. So now I've got this dress room on, I'm ready to position the seats. The seats go in just like this and then they twist into place.